Tucker Carlson humiliated Ted Cruz yesterday in an interview after recently calling out the Fox News propaganda machine in which he spent a pretty great deal of time. The U.S. joining Israel's war against Iran is largely unpopular across the board, and the MAGA world probably does not want you to see this mess. So Cruz said the quiet part out loud and just casually dropped that we are already at war with Iran alongside Israel. And it completely shocked Tucker because Tucker had to remind Ted Cruz that the White House literally just denied U.S. involvement, and Lion Ted immediately freaked out and walked it back. Let's watch. This is fucking nuts.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
Neither do I, by the way.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because,
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
what
predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
So this is crazy because it has a lot of people who are not on Tucker's side, like most rational adults, coming out and saying, oh my God, Tucker's right. Why the fuck am I siding with Tucker Carlson? But Tucker kind of slayed with that. And it really goes to show not just how obviously unprepared and uneducated Ted Cruz and the entirety of MAGA world are, that kind of goes without saying, but also just what the Fox News slot machine, not slot, by the way, what the Fox News slop machine does to someone who's actually a really effective journalist. Like, Tucker's clearly got the chops. It's just he became part of the Fox News propaganda machine, and over time he started making that crazy MAGA content that the old people watching Fox News really want to see, and it worked. But another interesting part of the interview where Ted says the quiet part out loud again is when he addressed what we all have definitely known to be true, which is that our besties in Israel, to whom we write blank checks to bomb whoever they want, are probably spying on us right here at home. Their version of the CIA, the Mossad, gets a lot of our taxpayer money, and in case this wasn't obvious enough, they're probably using quite a bit of it to do something that is not necessarily in the best interests of global peacekeeping. Tucker went on to say, as he went into this, that he's someone who's always liked Israel and still does. But he asks if it's in America's interests to pay Israel to spy on us. Let's take a look.
Does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. Really? We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other, and I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian. You don't think humans are all... Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work.
In this question about the Mossad spying
I assume
on us.
people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us, and I'm not...
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that, and by the way, I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know. Hold on, I want to know your attitude. Yeah. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
it is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clearest.
But I just want to stop on the spine for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the President of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry. I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
Also nuts. Let's talk church and state. Obviously, a lot of MAGA World just wants this to be a Christian nationalist country, so the separation of church and state isn't going to really matter to them. If anything, they want the state to be a church and they want it to be Christian. But Ted Cruz goes on to cite the Bible to support his position on Israel just being allowed to do sort of whatever. He says his support for Israel comes from a command from God. And that when God talks about Israel, God is talking about Bibi Netanyahu's government. You know, Tucker presses him to define what Israel actually means, what the borders are, you know, what it really means to be the state of Israel. And Ted Cruz is just sort of like, oh, you know, God, you know, wants us to let Bibi do whatever he wants. Let's watch that clip now. This one's a real hoot.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my, you pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator and now you're throwing out theology and I am a Christian and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
Hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime
Democratic
minister.
country. We'll get into that in a second.
Just like, you know, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
Imagine if Tucker spent all this time that he spent building MAGA World and playing into the fears and bigotry. Not to say those things are gone from Tucker, but like, imagine if he was being a real journalist for all those years that he was Fox Newsing. I feel like things would be a little different. Ted Cruz says about his Bible verse, from which he seems to derive his Middle East politics, that it doesn't say the government of Israel. But then he goes on to be like, no, it means the government. And it's really weird and inconsistent. It doesn't take a vocal Israel critic to observe that this is a clear sign of MAGA's Christian nationalism. You know, people always talk about how all this Israel criticism is anti-Semitic, motivated by anti-Semitism. But most of Israel's support in the country, most people who identify as Zionists, are in fact evangelical Christians. And evangelical Christians are where MAGA World derives so much of its support. So when people talk about how MAGA World's endless support for Israel actually comes from some sort of love of the Jewish people, MAGA World breeds anti-Semitism by doing everything they can to allow the spread of hate speech by playing into a lot of deep state narratives, which are regularly tied to Jewish people, and Jewish people are regularly the target of these things. Netanyahu himself has talked about the deep state. So much MAGA World support for Israel comes from Israel being basically just a military base for us in the Middle East, and also evangelical Christians talking about some prophecy that the Jews need to hold Israel for Jesus to come back, something like that. So Ted goes out of his way in this section of the interview to talk about how Israel is a democracy, which is really interesting to me because I've seen a lot of Israeli people applying pressure to Netanyahu from inside his country for not holding elections in a very long time. There's a lot of public pressure in Israel right now against Netanyahu's right-wing coalition, and he doesn't know what to do, but he's definitely not holding any democratic elections. So what's going on with Tucker doing real journalism, right? Like humiliating Ted Cruz by asking real questions about the war in the Middle East, a topic which much of the mainstream media still doesn't know how to apply real pressure on. Like, let's have a look at what he said to Steve Bannon about the Fox News propaganda machine. I think we can learn a lot from this specific clip.
Why is that the platform of Fox, though? It's just not Mark. But why is Fox, like all weekend, it's just cheerleading? It's exact. You can play side by side Iraq in 2003.
Oh, I was there.
And here, and what's happening today? Why is it that? Why is this apparatus?
Well, Levin's the funniest because he's terrible on TV. And again, I never had any problems with him at Fox. He kind of controls Hannity in this weird way. I never understood what that was about. I never really cared to learn. Sean was great to me, always nice, and so was Levin. So I just like kind of stayed away. But they didn't want to put him on TV because he's like screechy and he's just not a calming presence. Not coming on TV! Like, oh my, unless you're literally floating in and out of consciousness and the attendant has taken the remote to go have a cigarette, you're gonna flip the channel when Mark Levin gets on TV. It's like listening to your ex-wife scream about alimony payments. It's like not appealing. So they wouldn't put him on TV. And then, you know, Sean pushed and they gave him some kind of weekend show that nobody watched. Now I don't have a TV, but someone was just who owns a TV was just telling me that he's like all over prime time. So what is that? That's not by popular acclaim. That's not like their viewer surveys. Like, you know, we need a lot more Mark Levin. Less Jesse Waters, more Mark Levin. Mark Levin! What they're doing is what they always do, which is just turning up the propaganda hose to full blast and just trying to, you know, knock elderly Fox viewers off their feet and make them submit to a new war. This is where their interest.
Tucker talking about Fox News turning up the propaganda hose. It's like, dude, that was you forever. Like that just changed, and I'm glad he's saying it, because it's great for us to hear from people who are inside of the propaganda machine that that's what they were doing. But it'll be interesting to see how MAGA figures out what the fuck is going on with this war, because it's not very popular. It's causing a lot of infighting. That said, my co-host Tim Miller is doing a Reddit AMA, I think right now, where someone asked him how the MAGA civil war was going to end, and he correctly pointed out it's going to end with Trump winning. But the Trump base will do anything they can, anything possible, to stan his every move. So I hate to make y'all watch more Tucker and Bannon, but here's one more clip of them getting into some real shit, and then I'll let you go.
It does feel like Fox News is playing, and I never criticize Fox because they were so kind to me, but they are playing a central role in the propaganda operation here. It feels like
it's what. Let's go back to the Iraq War. I mean, you were there, you saw it. Look at the Iraq War.
I promoted the Iraq War.
Knowing, because of the information you were giving, knowingly what they did. If you go back to look at Iraq, it's not like these things are successful. They're not successful. They're unsuccessful. They can't be successful because, as Lincoln told us, what you need is popular opinion to have your back. And we don't do enough about educating the American people on what reality is. In fact, they give them the exact opposite. That's why it's all. That's what this is. The rise of Trump is from two things. The rise of Trump is from the failed Iraq War and from the 2008 financial collapse.
Exactly.
You had Buchanan before that. We had Perot before that. We had even Reagan for some populism, nationalism. You had these sprouts. You could see people were trying to get there, but they couldn't. It was those two cataclysmic events, right? An epic failed war, right? That we were lied to about everything, the reason we went in. Because remember, at first, the American people supported it, given the information they were given. Then later, they realized that, hey, not just was the initial predicate for this a lie, all the updates were kind of a lie, right? All the updates were a lie. We really weren't winning, right? Until we sent General Kelly to the Anbar province to be the toughest tribe, it took forever. And 8,000
Okay, that's
dead.
enough. Everybody, it's going to be interesting to see what more we get from Tucker on him calling out all the MAGA World propaganda that, again, he really helped build. But until then, stay tuned. We've got more coming soon, and we'll all stay in touch.